Sarah Bunwell, the editor of fundoperator.com, and I'm here with Kevin Samborn, Chief Technology Officer, BTPSM, which manages the British Telecom Pension Scheme. Kevin is speaking at the Fund Operator Summit Europe later this year, and ahead of that, we wanted to catch up with him to get a little bit of a flavour of what he's going to be talking about. Hi, Kevin. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Sarah. Nice to meet you.
You too. So my first question, and it's a big one, is what are some of the key technology challenges facing asset managers at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, some of the challenges have been around forever, and some of them are acute right now. I think one of the obvious ones that's facing us right now is the market for technology people is really, really tight. It's well known across the business, and I think that's something that we're really facing. It's really hard to get good people. I think that's one. I think another is that, which is relatively new in the realm of the life of asset managers and technology, is that there's much more technical capability in the business, and we have, and that's just been a long time coming. Things like Python and R, and the ability for people in research and directly in the front office to create their own technology. That's something that we need to deal with and face. So I think that's all coming together to a head. As an example.
Great. And okay, so what is the role of good data in helping support asset managers in facing some of those challenges that you mentioned?
So data is always the issue. So there's everything from, is new security available in the security master, how to handle derivatives with all their terms and conditions, how to handle new ESG data or risk data. All of that has been around forever. And we've definitely come to more critical mass on quality data, across the industry, which is wonderful. But, now that we've gotten to that, the ability to quickly add new data files, whether like ESG or proprietary house data, once you're there, that leaves the business have the ability to create their own models and their analysis. So it's absolutely fundamental to focus on that. I think one of my key jobs is balancing creating new applications or new technology versus simply the availability of the data. I don't think that's changed. I think that's there, and we just need to keep focusing on it. But the more data we can make available on the proverbial platform, the easier it is for people to create their own analysis. I think that's just the way it is, and you need to keep the foot on the pedal.
That makes perfect sense to me. And okay, thinking about the cloud, what role does sort of scalable cloud computing play when it comes to managing some of these current risks and some of the risks of the future too?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've seen in the past 5 years with the emergence of cloud-based data platforms is that it just makes the data available, and that reinforces some of the challenge of now that end users have their own technology like R and Python. They're like, oh, great, why can't I just get access to the data files that I've chucked out there? And I think that once we have the ability that the data is in the platform, then the question becomes, where do you have scalable analytics? And we've used a bunch of technologies that allow us to build clusters in the cloud to run things like R and Python, and our users really like it. It's mixed, it's not perfect, but some of them have really adopted it, and other ones are still saying, well, I just want access to the data, can't I just download it? But I think that the cloud platform of having the analytics in the cloud that has the data in the cloud really lets us help scale out, right? And I think if otherwise, people would be just asking for bigger and bigger software, bigger and bigger PCs, and then we end up with the management problem we had 10, 20 years ago. Right now, if you can get the analytics in the cloud, you get the libraries in the cloud, and tell people, oh, you run your R model in the cloud and the data's in the cloud, that just makes it better for everybody. And I think that's where the role is. And if we end up being successful at that over the next couple of years, that will finally reduce the friction of the time where a researcher or a quant can create a model versus running it in production for a client or a management report and still supporting their research. So I think this is really the future, and scalable cloud resources is where we're going. So we're already there. Just making it work successfully is going to be the answer.
Great, thank you. Last one from me today. What are the key steps that asset managers can take now to make sure that they have the right technology and solutions in place to manage any future challenges, including, some technologies that may not, or challenges that may not yet be on their radar?
I actually really like that question because I like it that it's phrased as the asset manager, not just the technology department. What we're seeing is a blurring of the traditional role of technology, more of, and when you get requirements, the BA is going to write them down, and then the technology department is going to implement some report. I think that's sort of going away in a smoothing it out. I think the asset manager, the institution, needs to realize that technology is integrated across the business now. And as soon as they recognize that, and they recognize that the new generation of researchers and quants and front office people coming online, and even operations coming online, has technology schools that they learned and grew up with, and that there's technology everywhere. And as the asset manager should realize that's blended it throughout. And I think that the challenge that's not on the radar yet is how to leverage that. And as long as data becomes universal and the platform becomes universal, then the institution can really leverage that. So it's sort of repeating a little bit of the answer to my previous question, but it's the technology department's role to make the infrastructure available, but the asset manager needs to realize that the new generation of people have the skills to just leverage it without having some odd siloed distinction between the requests coming from the business and then the technology department's implementation. And I think that's the future, and that's really what we need to deal with right now as a business.
So a culture and skills issue as much as anything else. That makes perfect sense. Thank you.
I think me and my colleagues talk about that a lot. That like we don't have a lot of platform building. We don't have a lot of building. It's a matter of adoption and understanding what the future operating models look like and how we can deliver it. The thing for me, my background is in derivatives, and the thing for me for my whole career has been how fast can you bring a new model into production, whether the model is a pricing model or a research model or an investment model. And I think that right now the difficulty in technology is kind of gone, and it becomes more of a cultural people operating model question. But it's wonderful.
Perfect, and very interesting. It will be particularly interesting to see how sort of the fund operators step up and deal with that culture challenge.
I definitely agree with that. I think it's a big part of it. We work with our operator all the time, our TPA all the time, and they recognize that the key point is getting us the data, and then we need to our job becomes front office. Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to have to talk about that.
Great. Well, obviously you'll be talking about this in more depth at our conference later this year, and we'll be discussing lots of other cultural, operational, technology issues. I can't wait to hear more from you and the rest of our speakers, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Sarah.